looking at the US 100, the NASDAQ. Okay, what I see here on the NASDAQ is this crazy drop there. Drop that occurred on last week on Friday. Sorry. Yeah, this Friday. Okay, this Friday. This was a crazy move. This was a crazy move. And I did not actually expect that on the NASDAQ. I did not expect such move on the NASDAQ. And then, yeah. So the question now is, will price continue to the downside, dropping with that massive volatility that you see, or it will continue buying as it's been buying for the longest time? The NASDAQ's been buying for the longest time. So will it continue buying or continue selling? As from this point right here, will it continue selling with this kind of volatility? The answer is actually no. It's not going to continue selling this kind of volatility. What I'm expecting on the NASDAQ is a mitigation on this weekly demand zone. And from that point, I'm expecting price to give me some sort of a consolidation. And then from there, a bullish continuation towards 25,229.5. So, okay, let's go to the weekly time frame and see what the weekly time frame has for us. Okay, in the weekly time frame, technically, I see a consecutive break of market structure to the upside. And again, we see this price mitigated some sort of a demand zone here. If you go back to the daily time frame, you might see something. Or we can just say Fibonacci retracement mitigation, and we say push to the upside. I mean, the whole point, the most interesting thing is in what it mitigated, is that it actually respected this low right here. The fact that it respected this low, I like it, and that's what I'm interested on. So, okay, looking at the price mitigate, whatever it mitigated, they continue to the upside, breaking this high. Again, from the new high right there, now we see a massive drop towards this demand zone. And the question is, will this demand zone be able to hold up until price reaches that area? I think it will. Why? Because from what I've been saying on the other videos about the rate cuts, remember, if the Fed actually decide to, or the announcements that will be announced next week with the Feds, if they say, for example, they decided to cut the rate in the future, the interest rate in the future, that will mean that the gold and the NASDAQ will be strengthened. What do I mean by that? I mean, it will be buying for a certain period of time. I mean, there will be a high volatility in the market. There will be high volatility in the market that will cause the market to actually buy. Because remember, whenever they decide to cut the rate, the US dollar, the DXY will be weakened. So there will be there will be some sort of high volatility, but to the downside on the DXY. However, on the dollar, not on the NASDAQ and on the gold, that will be a very different story. Remember, they have a negative correlation. That means whenever the dollar goes down, the gold and the NASDAQ will shoot to the upside. So that's what I'm expecting. So the chances are high that they might decide to cut the rate in the future months. So that's why I'm expecting buys. So that's what I'm talking about here when I say price will be going up after and just after mitigating this area, and the fact that I also said this demand zone will be able to hold the market or the price up until it reaches this area. And another technical confluence that I have here is price just liquidated this candles low, liquidated this candles low as at the same time, and also the high of this candle and also the high of this candle. So that makes this candle a demand zone, and a very strong demand zone that would be able to hold price up until it reaches that point of interest, our target, which is this area. So let me go back to the daily time frame. The weekly time frame looks more cleaner than the daily time frame. So okay, you can see we have a clear break of market structure. There's nothing much for me to explain here, actually. So what I would be expecting is just a mitigation, a drop, a little bit of a drop towards this demand zone. And then what another thing that I have is a technical confluence, which is the Fibonacci retracement. So what I'm expecting with it is for price to actually mitigate a little bit, at least this first line, just the mitigation of this first line. That would be enough for me and give me my entry confirmation, and I'll take my buys, take my chances. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the NASDAQ, and thank you for watching.